thank you all for posting in our forum on the solstice and the equinoxes and talking about Stonehenge. As you can see here, I have a picture of myself standing in, or I'm sitting in front right now, virtually, of Stonehenge. I'm going to cover the camera here for a moment so you can take a look at it in a little more detail. This is a picture I took in March of 2020. This is just a few days before they shut down the airlines and we couldn't travel anymore. But I was at Stonehenge with the Alternative Spring Break group at Ivy Tech. If that's still operating in future years, I hope that you'll be able to take advantage of it. Or I hope that you'll be able to take advantage of just going there at some point. I'm going to drop in a picture or two as I'm talking here. They do have a line that is put into the ground, which signifies some of the cardinal points of interest, not the cardinal points of the compass, mind you, but the particular areas of interest for Stonehenge are where are the solstice points and where are the equinox points. These stones are set up in such a way that they take advantage of where the sun comes up on the longest and shortest days of the year, where the sun comes up on the equal days of the year. And this was done thousands of years ago. Now, all of the stones that we have here are not of the same age. Some of them are older than others because Stonehenge is a place that's been built and rebuilt and modified over the course of many, many centuries. And most of it was done at a time when the people in England did not have reading or writing. So we don't have definitive textual evidence of why they were built or how they were built. There are a lot of theories that are actually very good theories in terms of the whys and wherefores, but there's still a mystery here and there. As we were traveling through southern England, you can see different areas of the countryside that have been devoted to farmland and pasture land. And this is very near a couple of areas that are both sheep pasture and farming areas. So the idea that they would take usable land and turn it into something like this is rather interesting. Although one suspects that the sheep were allowed to continue to graze on the grass that grew around here. In fact, sort of just off the camera image here, there were sheep that were grazing at this time. Throughout the world, we've had a lot of cultures who have recognized the significance of the longest day of the year and the shortest day of the year. And we have different monuments and different symbols that have come from a lot of different cultures related to that. So I invite you to explore the history of astronomy, the history of observational astronomy, because this has been an important thing for the development of our calendar. How do we know when the new year begins? Well, sometimes the new year would begin at the beginning of spring rather than January 1st. That seems to be a little bit arbitrary. And in fact, it doesn't signify the beginning of the year in a lot of different cultures in history. We have a Jewish calendar, we have a Muslim calendar, we have different cultures that have different calendars that are still being used today, even though for modern banking and travel and other purposes, we share the common calendar, which also happens to be the current Christian calendar. Although even then, not all Christians agree with how things should be delineated. Eastern Orthodox and Western Christians often disagree on certain dates like Easter. They don't always correspond. And that's, again, due to where we observe the moon, where we observe the sun, how we observe what's happening. And I appreciate that many of you have talked about in the posts of wanting to visit Stonehenge. I hope that you will be able to do that at some point. It's well worth the trip. Let me know when you're going and maybe I'll tag along. I've been there a couple of times in my life, most recently, again, March 2020. But I was there as a child. I was there a couple of times as a young adult when I was living in London. This is literally only an hour and a half outside of London. depending on traffic, maybe 2.5 hours outside of London. But it's not actually hard to get to. And there are quite a number of things that are worthwhile in terms of visiting around this area too, including Salisbury Cathedral and the old Sarum castle site, which is quite a lot of fun as well. But one thing you can do at Stonehenge is you can test your strength on the stones. They have one that's set up with a pulley, and you can try to pull and see if you could actually move the stones. And I, with several students, were not able to move the stones. But I think one of my drop-in pictures will show that here as well. And that shows a recreated village as well, how the people who were the original inhabitants of this area would have lived. And there's quite a nice museum with artifacts that have been dug up in the area. So again, I hope you'll be able to visit at some point. I hope I'll be able to visit there too, and maybe we'll see each other among the stones.